It's a sound you never forget. Not a scream, not a shout, but the silence that follows, the silence where a life should be. On June 2nd, 2025, in the 1200 block of Raum Street, that silence fell over a young man named Kalil Brown, and it has never been broken. We all walk home, we text a friend. Almost there, we fumble for our keys under a familiar porch light. It's the most mundane ritual, the last piece of normalcy before everything shatters. For Kalil, that short walk ended in a mystery so deep it swallowed him whole. No witnesses, no clear motive, just a life, full of promise, extinguished in the dark. So what happened in those final minutes? Who was waiting for him? And how, in a world of doorbell cameras and digital footprints, can someone simply vanish into violence, leaving behind only questions? Today we're not just recounting a case file, we're walking the same path Kalil did. We're looking into the eyes of a community haunted by a ghost, and a family searching for an answer that seems to retreat further with every passing day. This is the story of a tragic end, and a truth that is still desperately waiting to be found. Kalil Brown was 22 years old. Say his name. Kalil. It's important, because in the chaos of an investigation, it's easy for a person to become a case number. But he was more than that. He was a son, a friend, with a laugh that could light up a room. He worked a regular job, had regular dreams, the kind of young man building a life, one brick at a time. Imagine him on that last day, a warm June evening, the sun dipping below the rooftops of Southeast DC. He'd spent the day with friends. There were plans for the weekend. He was last seen alive around 9:30 p.m., turning onto Raum Street. His phone was active. His footsteps echoed on the pavement. He was so close to home, and then nothing. His family knew immediately. This wasn't like him. The texts went unanswered. The calls went straight to voicemail. That gnawing feeling in the pit of your stomach, the one that whispers something is terribly wrong. It became a scream. They reported him missing. But you have to understand the agonizing slow burn of those first hours. The police listen. But an adult missing for less than a day. There's a protocol. There's a hope. A desperate one. That he just crashed at a friend's. That his phone died. But hope curdles into dread, and dread into horror. Because the next day, in a wooded area just a few hundred yards from his home, the unthinkable was discovered. Kalil Brown. His life had been taken. The news didn't hit the airwaves with a massive bang. It seeped into the community like a stain, a quiet terror. How does a safe street become a crime scene? How does a neighbor become a potential suspect? This is the first and most brutal fracture, the death of trust. The community of Raum Street was now a place of locked doors and drawn blinds, where every passing car was watched, every unfamiliar face was scrutinized. This wasn't just a murder. It was a poison in the well, and at the center of it all, a family was left with a void no words can fill. Their son was gone, and the only person who knew why was out there, maybe watching, maybe living next door. The investigation launched with a grim intensity. This is where the puzzle pieces are supposed to start clicking into place. But what if the pieces are from different boxes? Detectives flooded Raum Street. They knocked on every door. They scanned every camera. They looked for the threads that connect a victim to his killer. A jilted lover, a financial dispute, a random act of violence. But Kalil's life, upon initial inspection, didn't offer up an obvious enemy. He was by all accounts a good kid, so the police had to widen the net. And that's when the maze began. They had a crime scene, but what did it tell them? The absence of evidence can be its own kind of clue. Was there a struggle? Were items taken? The details are kept close to the vest. A card held tightly in an investigator's hand. We know there was evidence collected. Forensic teams scoured the area for the smallest betrayals. A hair, a fiber, a drop of sweat, the silent witnesses. They pulled phone records, mapping the digital ghost of Kalil's last hours. Who did he talk to? Where had he been? Each ping from a cell tower is a dot on a map, a breadcrumb trail leading to a precipice, and then it stops. And then, The tips started coming in, as they always do, some well-meaning, some bizarre. A neighbor reported hearing a raised voice around the time Kalil vanished. Another thought they saw an unfamiliar car, idling, its description fuzzy. Each lead is a thread that must be pulled, and you pull it, and you pull it, hoping it leads to a sweater, but so often, it just leads to a knot, or to nothing at all. Did the police have a person of interest? It's the question everyone asks. In an investigation like this, there are always names that surface. Acquaintance with a shaky alibi, a local figure with a record of minor violence, someone who didn't act quite right when questioned. The file might have a name in it, circled, with a question mark, a ghost they can almost see, but can't quite grab. Because here's the thing that keeps detectives up at night. Someone knows something. The killer does, maybe an accomplice does, or maybe a witness saw something so small, so seemingly insignificant. They don't even realize it's the key to everything. It's the kind of detail that gets lost in the noise of everyday life. A slammed car door at an odd hour, a person walking just a little too fast. The kind of detail that once remembered, changes everything. So where does that leave us? Months have passed, then a year. The news cycles move on, the yellow tape is taken down, the world for everyone else keeps spinning. But for Kalil's family, time is frozen on due. For the detectives on the case, it's a constant, low-grade hum of frustration. An open file on a desk, a name they can't forget. An unsolved homicide is a wound that never closes. It's a question mark etched into a community's soul. It breeds a quiet, persistent fear. Because if it can happen to Kalil, a good young man on a familiar street, then who is safe? And if the person who did it is still free, then where are they? Are they in the grocery store line with you? Are they pumping gas at the next station over? The monster isn't under the bed. He's wearing the mask of a normal life. This is the true horror of the Kalil Brown case. It's not just the violence of the act itself. It's the silence that followed. It's the void of answer. It's the systemic, heartbreaking reality that not every case gets a neat resolution. Not every detective has a eureka moment. Sometimes, the best leads go cold. Sometimes the truth seems to hide in plain sight, taunting those who seek it. We are left with echoes. The echo of Kalil's laughter, the echo of a family's grief, the echo of a detective's vow to never close the file. This case is a reminder that justice is not inevitable. It is a fragile thing, built on evidence, on witness memory, on a lucky break. It requires 1,000 things to go right, and sometimes they just. But that doesn't mean the fight is over. It just means the battlefield changes, from a quiet street to a national headline, and back to a quiet, painful mystery. We've walked the path of Kalil Brown's last night. We've seen the dedicated work of the investigators, and the bottomless grief of a family refused the right to bury their son in peace, with answers. The outcome for now is an unresolved silence. There has been no arrest, no confession, no day in court, just a lingering shadow over Raum Street. It leaves us with a haunting final thought, that evil doesn't always announce itself with a roar. Sometimes, it's a whisper in the dark, a passing figure, a secret held by one person, walking among us, who knows the chilling truth about what happened to Kalil Brown. And until that secret is told, the case remains open, the story remains unfinished, and the silence remains unbroken. If this story left you haunted, if you feel that pull to seek answers, then you understand why we do this. Don't let the silence be the end of the story. The search for truth continues. Subscribe now, and join us for our next investigation into a case where a single forgotten diary held the key to a decade-old mystery. Hit that bell so you don't miss it. Together, maybe we can help bring more shadows into the light.